ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 28, Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. So we are at text 25. Vikrushyamaणः प्रसभं यवनेन बलीयसा नाविन्दत्तमसाविष्ट सखयां सुहृदं पुरः. Translation.
When King Puranjana was being dragged with great force by the powerful Yavana out of his gross ignorance, he still could not remember his friend and well-wisher, the Super Soul. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Lord Krishna says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram surudam sarvabhutanam jnatva mam shanti mrichyati. A person can be in full Krishna consciousness and become happy and satisfied if he knows but three things, namely that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the enjoyer of all benefits, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that he is the supreme friend of all living entities. If one does not know this and functions instead under the bodily conception, he is always harassed by the tribulations offered by material nature. In actuality, the Supreme Lord is sitting by the side of everyone. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Riddesha Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad Gita 18.61. The living entity and the supersoul are sitting side by side in the same tree. But despite being harassed by the laws of material nature, the foolish living entity does not turn toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead for protection. However, he thinks that he is able to protect himself from the stringent laws of material nature. This, however, is not possible. The living entity must turn toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto Him. Only then will he be saved from the onslaught of the powerful Yavana or Yamraj. The word Sakhayam, friend, is very significant in this verse because God is eternally present beside the living entity. The Supreme Lord is also described as Surudam, ever well-wisher. The Supreme Lord is always a well-wisher, just like a father or mother. Despite all the offenses of a son, the father and mother are always the son's well-wisher. Similarly, despite all our offenses and defiance of the desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord will give us immediate relief from all the hardships offered by material nature if we simply surrender unto Him. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mama eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Unfortunately, due to our bad association and great attachment for sense gratification, we do not remember our best friend, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes. So while all these things were happening, King Puranjan was dragged with great force by the Yavana king, and out of gross ignorance, he could not remember his best friend Surud and the greatest well-wisher, that is the Super Soul. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes 5.29, this is called as peace formula, that if one, Prabhupada writes, if one understands these three things, one will become happy and satisfied. What are these three things? Bhoktaram, Yajna Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Bhoktaram means Lord Krishna is the enjoyer of all benefits. Sarv, he is the proprietor of everything, and he is Surdam Sarva Bhutanam, that he is the supreme friend of all living entities. So Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Surdam Sarva Bhutanam, Jnatva, by knowing this, Shanti Mrichati, one will attain everlasting peace. Further, Srila Prabhupada says, the living entity and the Supreme Lord, the friendship is of great Sakhya, Sakhaya. Sakhaya means the God is constantly present with living entity. Surudam, he is the best well-wisher. And Prabhupada says, just like mother and father, they are always the well-wisher of the son or the daughter. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is always the well-wisher of the living entity. Wherever the living entity goes, he may go to the body of a pig or a cockroach. There also the Lord will come and accompany Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Tishtati means he's constantly waiting that living entity will one fine day will look towards him and surrender unto him. And thus the Supreme Lord is always waiting, Tishtati, for the living entity. And as soon as the living entity surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, the material struggle will at once come to an end. Right. Mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So at once means within this one lifetime, the material existence will come to an end. That is the meaning of at once. Why? Because the lifetime of a jiva is time immemorial. Jiva also doesn't know when, how many millions of births back he has come. But with some 20, 30, 40 years of devotional service, one can conquer the Supreme Lord. And therefore, it is as good as immediate. Unfortunately, Prabhupada says, due to bad association and the great attachment of this for the sense gratification, we do not remember our greatest well-wisher, which is the Supreme Lord situated in the heart. Text 26. Tam yajnapashamonena sandhyaptaye dayaluna kuthare chichindu kruddha smarantamiva asya tat. Translation.
Translation: That most unkind king, Puranjana, had killed many animals in various sacrifices. Now, taking advantage of this opportunity, all these animals began to pierce him with their horns. It was as though he were being cut to pieces by axes. Purport: Those who are very enthusiastic about killing animals in the name of religion or for food must await similar punishment after death. The word mamsa, meat, indicates that those animals whom we kill will be given an opportunity to kill us. Although in actuality no living entity is killed, the pains of being pierced by the horns of animals will be experienced after death. Not knowing this, rascals unhesitatingly go on killing poor animals. So-called human civilization has opened many slaughterhouses for animals in the name of religion or food. Those who are a little religious kill animals in temples, mosques, or synagogues, and those who are more fallen maintain various slaughterhouses. Just as in civilized human society, the law is a life for just as in civilized human society, the law is a life for a life. No living entity can encroach upon another living entity as far as the Supreme Lord is concerned. Everybody, everyone should be given freedom to live at the cost of the Supreme Father, and animal killing, either for religion or for food, is always condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 16.19, Lord Krishna says, तानहं द्विष्टः क्रूरान् संसारेषु नराधमान् क्षिपाम्य अजासराम् अशुभन् asureshesh iva yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. The animal killers, Dvishtaha, envying other living entities, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are placed in darkness and cannot understand the theme and objective of life. This is further explained in the following verses. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And now, when the Puranjan was pulled out of the body, that most unkind king had performed many animal sacrifices by mercilessly killing the animals. And all these animals now began to pierce him with their horns, and thus he experienced great pain. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that those who are enthusiastic for animal killing will always await similar punishment after death. Because the very word mas means, people say shakahari, masahari. So this word mas comes from the Sanskrit mamsaha. Mamsaha means it's a contract between the animal and the human, saying that, my dear animal, for the tongue or something, I'm I'm cutting you and eating you. In the next life, I will become you, you will become me, and we will settle the balance. Right? But not knowing this, that they have to unlimitedly suffer after death, people are very happily consuming non-vegetarian food and killing animals. If somebody is killing right away the animal, then they will kill in the pretext of killing in the temple or some region or some, because of some religious pretext. And those who are more shameless, they will simply open the slaughterhouse and outrightly kill the animal to eat. But animal killing, either for religion or food, is always condemned by the Supreme. So much so that in fact, he takes the incarnation, Buddha avatar, just to stop the animal killing. And such people are very severely punished in their this life and in the next life. Tanaham vishatah kruran. Such merciless vishatah animal killers, kruran, samsareshu naradhaman, kshipami ajasra shubhan, asurishu eva yonishu. That they will be given, they will be cast into the dangerous positions later in the next life. Said this, one has to also be aware that we have to spread the message of Krishna consciousness. This is very important. Because what happens is people come with their own karma and people will come with their own samskara. And you may find somebody who may be apparently killing animal, eating animal, but may be very refined in his all other aspects. So whatever is good in person, we should focus on that and try to fan the spirit, the spark of Krishna consciousness in everybody's life. Right. So we are not here to find fault. We are here to because we ourselves have so many fault. Right. We are here to somehow or other awaken Krishna consciousness of the person. And therefore, the first preaching should not be about the nodes of Krishna consciousness. No meditating, no gam, no. The first thing is one should make people aware of the glories of the holy name and importance of chanting the holy name. When people receive the higher taste in terms of the spiritual activities, automatically the lower taste will naturally, they will go away, they will fade away. So this is very important thing. Sometimes, we may become a little critical. Of course, we have to be strict with ourselves, but we should not become critical because simply people are not aware of many things. This transcendental knowledge has not reached to them, and that's why they may be in the condition what they are in. But a devotee should not have the self-righteous, attitude and show the attitude to people about this. At the same time, one has to be very careful about one's own personal standards of sadhana. Text 27. Anantapare tamasi magno nishta smriti samaha shashvatim anubhuya artim pramada sangadushitah. Translation.
Translation. Due to his contaminated association with woman, a living entity, like King Puranjana, eternally suffers all the pangs of material existence and remains in the dark region of material life, bereft of all remembrance of many, many years. Purport. This is a description of material existence. Material existence is experienced when one becomes attached to a woman and forgets his real identity as the eternal servant of Krishna, Nashta Smriti. In this way, in one body after another, the living entity perpetually suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. To save human civilization from the darkness of ignorance, this movement was started. The main purpose of Krishna consciousness movement is to enlighten the forgetful living entity and remind him of his original Krishna consciousness. In this way, the living entity can be saved from the catastrophe of ignorance as well as bodily transmigration. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has sung, Anadi karma phale padi bhavar navajale tari bare na dekhi upaya e vishaya hala hale diva nishi hiya jwale mana kabhu sukha nahi paya. Because of my past fruitive activities, I have now fallen into the ocean of nescience. I cannot find any means to get out of this great ocean, which is indeed like an ocean of poison. We are trying to be happy through sense enjoyment, but actually that so-called enjoyment is like food that is too hot because burning in the heart. I feel a burning sensation constantly day and night, and thus my mind cannot find satisfaction. Material existence is always full of anxiety. People are always trying to find many ways to mitigate anxiety. But because they are not guided by a real leader, they try to forget material anxiety through drink, sensual indulgence. Foolish people do not know that by attempting to escape anxiety by drink and sensual life, they simply increase their duration of material life. It is not possible to escape material anxiety in this way. The word pramada sangha dushita indicate that apart from all other contamination, if one simply remains attached to a woman, that single contamination will be sufficient to prolong one's miserable material existence. Consequently, in Vedic civilization, one is trained from the beginning to give up attachment for women. The first stage of life is brahmachari, the second stage grahastha, the third stage vanaprastha, and the fourth stage sannyasa. All these stages are advised to enable one to detach himself from the association of women. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Anantapare tavasi Magno Nashta Smriti Sama. Because he was very deeply absorbed, Magno Nashta Smriti Sama. The king Puranjan, he completely forgot about anything about the spiritual activities. Pramada Sangadushita. Because he was always attached to the sense gratification, and therefore his consciousness was completely contaminated. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains this is the summary of material existence. Material existence means bhoga ishwarya prasaktanam taya aparita chetasa. Right. So here it is about pramada sangadushitaha. Pramada is the one who is attached to someone who makes one maddened in sense gratification. So that is true. That is woman for a man and a man for a woman. Okay. So because Narad Muni is speaking to Prachina Barishat, he is speaking with that reference, but it is just the opposite gender. And Prabhupada says to save the human civilization from this so-called pursuit of Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam, we have started this mission of ISKCON or Krishna consciousness. And thus people can be saved. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur that Anadi karma phale padi bhavarnava jale tari bare na dekhi upay. For a long, long time, living entities fallen into this material existence. Tari bare na dekhi upay. There is no means within his sight to get rid of this material existence, to cross over. Right? Ye vishaya hala hale. दीवानिशी हिया ज्वले मन कभू sukha nahi पाए. So, being absorbed in sense gratification, one after another, diya nishi, that hiya jwale. Diya nishi hiya jwale means one is constantly burning day and night, and mana kabhu sukha nahi paye. So here Prabhupada writes that the material existence is always full of anxiety, and people try to attempt to escape the material existence, but it is very difficult. And therefore, one has to purify one's association with the association of devotees. This is, a beautiful instruction by Kapila Muni to his mother Devahuti. Asangamajaram prasangamajaram pasham atmano kavayo vidu sa eva sadhu shukruto mokshadvaram apavratam. That the same attachment, when it is directed to Krishna Katha and the association of devotees, same attachment can become the cause of liberation. So the attachment is not condemned, but the object of attachment, if it is sense gratification, then there will be one result. Whereas if the object of attachment is spiritual object, then there will be another result. Text 28. Tamev manasa granhan babhuva pramodottama anantaram vidarbhasya rajasimhasya veshmani. Translation.
King Puranjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently in his next life he became a very beautiful and well-situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of King. Purport. Since King Puranjana thought of his wife at the time of death, he attained the body of woman in his next birth. This verifies the following verse in Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhava tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaitra kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. When a living entity is accustomed to think of a particular object matter or become absorbed in certain type of thought, he will think of that subject at the time of death. At the time of death, one will think of the subject that has occupied his life while he was awake, lightly sleeping or dreaming, or while he was deeply sleeping. After falling from this association of the Supreme Lord, the living entity thus transmigrates from one bodily form to another according to nature's course, until he finally attains the human form. If he is absorbed in material thoughts and ignorant of spiritual life, and if he does not take shelter under the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who solves all questions of birth and death, he will become a woman in the next life, especially if he thinks of his wife. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.31.1, Karmana Daiva Naitrena, a living entity acts piously and impiously, and sometimes in both ways. All actions are taken into account, and the living entity is offered a new body by his superiors. Although King Puranjana was overly attached to his wife, he nonetheless performed many pious fruitive activities. Consequently, although he took the form of woman, he was given a chance to be the daughter of powerful king. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.41, Prapya Punya Kritam Lokan Ushitva Shashvatay Samaha Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe Yogo Bhrashto Vijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into the family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. If a person falls from the path of Bhakti Yoga, God realization, due to attachment to fruitive activity, philosophical speculation, or mystic yoga, he is given a chance to take birth in a high or rich family. The higher authorities appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus render justice to the living entity according to the living entity's desires. Although King Puranjana was overly absorbed in thoughts of his wife and thus became a woman, he took birth in the family of king due to his previous pious activities. The conclusion is that all our activities are taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. Narad Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should take to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, and abandon all ordinary occupational duties. This advice was also given by Lord Krishna himself. Although a devotee may fall from the path of spiritual consciousness, he will nonetheless attain a human body in the home of a devotee or a rich man. In this way, one can resume his devotional service.
Yeah. King Puranjan gave up his body while constantly thinking of the object that he was most attached to, and this was his wife. So again, here the wife refers to the intelligence, and living entity is Puranjan, and the living entity is constantly attached to the intelligence which is making suitable plans for sense gratification, and thus one will receive a next different body. In next life, he became very beautiful, well-situated woman as the daughter of King Vidarbha. She is known as Vaidarbhi, right? So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions many points. The first thing here is Prabhupada says, it is confirmed by this that yam yam vapismaran bhavam tejati ante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavita. That whatever consciousness one remembers when he quits the body, that state he will attain without fail. So therefore, it is very important that we have. And what is the last thought? It is not something like, at a gunpoint, we say Krishna and then shoot oneself and then one goes to back home, back to cottage. No, it is a cultivation. Anushilanam, lifetime of a cultivation. So after a lifetime of a cultivation, if devotee at the time of death is in some different situation, like somebody dies in an accident, somebody dies in a coma or something like that, in that case, the Lord personally reminds the devotional service to such a practicing devotee. Right? So, further Srila Prabhupada writes here that whatever one does, all one's actions are noted. Right? Sometimes people have the misunderstanding that Papa will be cancelled by Punya, and they will do Papa and then more Punya, and they will cancel each other. But no, everything Papa and Punya, they are to be settled off separately, and Lord is taking note of every action. Later, when we see the pastime of Ajamil, where the Yamadutas, they are saying these are the 12 witnesses that we have. The directions, the sun, the moon, the Paramatma, light, air, Vayu. Okay, so there are so many witnesses about the actions that we perform. And accordingly, one will be Karmana Daiva Nitrena. In this case, although Puranjan was a very attached householder conducting many sacrifices, he was also a pious personality. So considering his piety, considering his last level of attachment, considering everything, he received the birth in the home of a king where his father's name was Raja Vidarbha, right? And then Srila Prabhupada quotes that, Prapya Punyakritam Lokan Ushitva Shashvati Zama Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Vijayate. In case a devotee becomes Yoga Brashta, but whatever advancement he has done will always be protected, and he will receive a better chance in the next, the suitable chance in the next life. Of course, the best chance is the current life. Okay. So, suitable chance that he will be born in the aristocratic family or the family of the devotees. And this is confirmed by Lord Krishna. And Prabhupada also quotes, Narada Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should at once take to Krishna consciousness. So sometimes Prabhupada writes, devotee may fall, but he will surely attain the human body in the family of a devotee or a rich man, and thus he can resume the devotional service. This is very important. Many times, that we forget this point of resuming the devotional service. So many wonderful kids are there in devotee families, but somehow, although they have such good facility, they have such, and how they have received the good facility by their own good deeds, right? By their own good activities in their previous life, they have received such good facilities, but unfortunately, they do not understand the importance of the spiritual activities that they have performed and received this facility. And thus, many times, they delay taking up to Krishna consciousness, and sometimes even do not take up to Krishna consciousness. And that is a very unfortunate situation. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Jai
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji,
Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
everyone.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada.